I love horror games, and one of my favorite ways to find a new horror game is by browsing the Steam horror tag, sorting by recent, and playing whatever catches my eye. And that's exactly how I stumbled upon 10 Seconds, a game that I originally thought would be just another generic horror game, but wow was I wrong. Despite its short length, this is easily one of the best horror games I've played recently. It takes a simple concept and executes it perfectly. Sometimes a game doesn't need to be long or complex to be effective. Sometimes all it takes is 10 seconds. 10 Seconds is a time loop horror puzzle game that drops you into the middle of a failed experiment. You wake up in a strange area that leads you to an escape room with a single objective: get out. But every 10 seconds a horrific monster is released, and if you don't make progress quickly, you'll be devoured over and over again. But here's the twist: your progress carries over. Every 10-second interval saves what you've done before, meaning that if you manage to grab a hammer and open the door before dying, when you respawn, the door is still open and the hammer remains where you dropped it. This loop continues, allowing you to inch your way forward with each attempt. This game mechanic is brilliant, and it keeps the tension high while rewarding strategy and quick thinking. The whole game can be beaten in about 5 to 20 minutes, depending on how fast you figure things out. But let me tell you, I would way rather play an engaging 5-minute game than a boring 3-hour one. Alright, if you're planning to play the game and you want to go in blind, now's your cue to pause this video, play the game, and come back later. Trust me, it's worth it. As you progress through the escape room, you eventually throw a screwdriver up to the area where you first started. Doing this lets you get the screwdriver early on your next attempt. When spawning back in, you can open a vent and retrieve a strange key next to a skeleton with a note that simply says, "Meet by the vent." You then do what the ominous piece of paper tells you and stand by the vent and wait for the 10-second countdown to end. The moment the timer hits 0, the monster bursts into the room and starts chasing you through the vent system. What follows is a frantic, heart-pounding escape sequence as you sprint through the narrow vents with the monster right behind you. Eventually you make it to a final room where you are faced with a choice, one that determines which of the two endings you get. If the monster catches and kills you here, you get the bad ending. You managed to escape the time loop experiment, but you couldn't escape death. The cycle finally ends, but at the cost of your life. However, if you grab the gun sitting on a nearby desk and shoot the monster before it reaches you, you get the good ending. You not only escape the experiment, but you also survive, breaking free of the nightmare once and for all. In conclusion, 10 Seconds is proof that horror doesn't need a massive budget, cutting-edge graphics, or hours of gameplay to be memorable. It just needs a good idea executed well. This game takes a simple premise, a 10-second time loop, and turns it into an intense, strategic, and genuinely terrifying experience. And what this game lacks in story and lore, it makes up for in fun gameplay mechanics. And that's my short review of 10 Seconds. I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're a fan of horror games. Plus, by playing it, you're directly supporting a brand new indie developer. I think not innate, since this is their first game, and honestly, what a way to debut. If this game gets enough attention, we might even see a part 2 or another project from them in the future. Despite its short length, 10 Seconds stands out as one of the best horror experiences I've played in a long time. And if you love horror as much as I do, trust me, this one is worth your time. Thank you all so much for watching.